Okay, that's a long ass video. Hey guys, it's Katya. Next week, which is October 15th, I'm turning 20 years old. So I thought I would just sit down and talk to you about some things I've learned in my 20 years of living. By the time you're watching this, I'm probably already 20, so happy birthday to me. But yeah, I've compiled a list of 20 life lessons that I've picked up and I want to share them with you. They're very personal, so enjoy. The first lesson that I've learned is that if people want you in their life, they'll make the effort to keep you in their life. Especially in high school, I always thought that I could convince people to care about me as much as I cared about them, or that I could make them want me in their life, but they didn't, and it's because they didn't care, and nothing I did was going to change that. Having me in their life wasn't a necessity for them. It was more like, oh, if she's here, if she sits with us, it's fine, but if she's not here, no one cares either. It's possible for them to make the effort, but they just don't want to do it with me, and I think I deserve better than that. I think that I'm worth needing. I used to think that maybe everyone was like this, maybe I just cared too much, maybe if I mirrored the effort they were showing me it would be fine, so then I would stop trying. But what's the point in that? Don't you want friends and people in your life that want to put effort into the relationship with you? I'm so tired of loving people more than they love me, or caring about people more than they care about me. And I think this year I finally learned that not everyone needs me, and that's okay. I have people who love and need me, and they are the people who have been here all along, so I'll be fine without the few who didn't need me. The second lesson I learned is not everyone is going to support you, not even the people who you thought were going to. I've had a lot of friends over the years that really wanted to see me fail. They always tried to one-up me to prove that they were better than me or they did more than me. I'm a competitive person, but that doesn't translate into me being rude to people or disrespectful, or me trying to compete with them or in like an unhealthy way. I always supported them. I always supported whatever they were doing and the hobbies they were doing and the projects they were doing. Even if I was doing the same ones and I was like mentally being like, oh, which one's better, I would never like try to one up them. You just have to realize that if your friends don't support you, then they don't want the best for you, and if they don't want the best for you, then they're not your friends. It was really hard cutting those people out of my life because they didn't technically directly do anything to me, but it was more like the passive aggressiveness whenever I would share something that I was excited about, and then they would just come back at me with like them trying to one up me or something they're doing. I would excitedly tell my friends that like, oh my god, I just wrote this new song, like what do you think? And then she'd come back at me like, oh, I wrote 2 new songs and it's gonna be in a film and like all this stuff. And of course I'd push my thing to the side and be like, that's so cool, like what's the song about? What is this? What's the film? All this stuff. And then she'd answer, we'd talk about it, but then we'd never get back to my thing. And it was like that every single time. And at a certain point it would make me stop telling her things because I knew exactly what was gonna happen, and I didn't want to make her feel like she needed to compete with me every time I told her something, so I'd stop. But then that led to us not talking anymore because you want to share your accomplishments with your friends. So if your friends don't support you, cut them off. I tried to talk to her about it, nothing changed, so I decided to cut her off. And honestly, my life has not changed one bit since I did, which also tells you that we did not need each other. The third lesson I learned is only give second chances. I know some people believe that you shouldn't even give second chances, but I think that people can change. People can change if they really want to, and they can only do it for themselves. My problem was I'd give a million chances to people and I'd keep getting hurt, and I'd keep giving chances and expect them to change when they are never going to, and that's why I think people only need 2 chances to really see if they want to change or not. Also, that applied to Medusa too. I'd give her so many chances to change and be a good person and not spread lies, and then maybe she would change for a week and be my friend, and then the next week she'd make up another lie, and that was probably the first time I realized that it's okay to cut people off. But there has been someone that I've given a second chance to and they have changed. I don't know if it will stick, but it's been months by now and they haven't reverted back, so I'm hopeful. But that being said, if they ever hurt me again, they'd be cut off, and they well know that. So I'm just done being a pushover. I've had friends since 2nd grade that I've never had one problem with, so I know that my standards for friendships aren't impossible. Lesson 4 that I've learned is nothing is better left unsaid. This can mean if you have a problem with someone and don't tell them, or even that if you miss someone and don't want to tell them, or love someone and don't want to tell them. For the first part, I don't think there's any benefit in not talking about your problems. With my ex, when we first started dating, he had a lot of jealousy issues, but he'd never tell me about any of them. And finally, it was like building up in him and he exploded. And when he exploded, he told me everything, and then all the problems were fixed with just one conversation of me like clearing things up. And I'm just like, it didn't have to go on that long, you know? In the other sense, I don't play games anymore. If I miss you, I'm gonna tell you. If I want to text you, if I want to Snapchat you, I'm going to. Even if I'm not supposed to, or even if I need to play hard to get the boy, like I don't see the point in that anymore. We waste so much time trying to follow society's rules and how long you should wait till you text someone, or what emoji should you use, and like what does it mean? Like, who cares? Life is too short to not say what you feel in that moment. I tell my ex I miss him all the time. And some days I do feel weird. I'm like, maybe it's too much. Maybe he's just being nice, and when I Snapchat him, he doesn't really want to reply. So then I don't Snapchat him when I want to, and then he ends up Snapchatting me. And it's like, you just never know what someone's thinking. Like in your mind, you're like, oh, they don't care. They think it's weird if I text them. And then maybe they're thinking the same thing. Like, you never know. I've just seen a lot of relationships and friendships end because of pride, and no one wants to text the other first. No one wants to tell the other that they miss them. And because of that, they just never talk again. That's just a stupid reason to lose someone from your life. The 5th lesson I've learned is always tell the truth. Nothing good ever happens when you lie. Lies always come to light. Everything comes out eventually. If you cheated on someone, I promise you, it is 1,000 times worse hearing it from someone else than from that person. And if you ever think you've gotten away with a lie, I guarantee that it will come out, or the other person already knows. Like, nothing stays hidden. Boys really take their lives to the grave. Like, they just don't admit when they're wrong unless you have the proof. Boys, a future lesson: if your boy or girl is asking you questions, they already know the truth, so don't lie. There's no point. You will look even worse for lying, I promise you. It's just so disrespectful and unnecessary. I deserve more than that. The next lesson I learned is you shouldn't base your happiness on social media. I struggle a lot with this one because I always think that if I'm not posting pictures of me and my friends in college, that people will think I have no friends or that I don't go out. And it's hard because I am going out and I have friends, but I just don't feel the need to take pictures, and I don't feel the need to stop the fun we're having to be like, oh, come everyone, like get behind this white wall and like pose for a picture. But then I see everyone else's posts from college with all their friends and at all these events, and I'm like, okay, I go to those too, I just don't post pictures of it. But I kind of realized that I don't go to other people's pages and see how many pictures they posted in college and see like if they're having fun, and I'm sure no one does it to me. Like, I'm not that important. And if people are going to my page and looking at it and be like, she has no friends, like, do I care? Like, who cares? I know I have friends, like, why does that matter? I know it's all in my mind. It's just like the pressure to post on social media. The next lesson I learned is people are selfish. People are going to act like they want to help you when in reality they only want to help themselves. Recently I was working on my album and I had a connection to this really famous person's sibling. Like, you would all know this famous person. They are on the radio all the time. Like, I'm sure you know at least one of their songs. And I had a family connection to their family member, so I was so excited when they offered to help me produce my album. I like started crying. It was amazing. And then when we started working together, I quickly realized that fame doesn't equate to work ethic and talent, this person did not have either of those things. They used their family connection to get me to like pay them for this album that they never worked on or they never put any effort into, and basically scammed me. I was left with no songs and they ran off with the money, which I tried to get back and was ghosted. I was so devastated. Like, I worked so hard on all of these songs and I was left with less than what I came in with. So the lesson is, people are going to screw you over. And don't be blinded by fame and status, because even those people can use you for something. The next lesson I learned is I will never be what I expect of myself. I expect too much and I know that. In my mind, I need to be stick skinny and I need to be the best writer and the best singer and like have the most friends. I can't do that. I can go days without eating and I can take singing lessons and I can write 1,000 stories, but I have to realize that like I have a certain weight range and body type and I can take singing lessons and I'll definitely improve, but someone's always going to be better than me and I'm never going to be like Demi Lovato. I can be nice to everyone and be myself, but not everyone's gonna like me still and not everyone's gonna be my friend. And all of that is okay. It's definitely the hardest thing, I think, because when I don't reach those goals, I like hate myself. It's just not realistic. So the lesson is, don't set impossible expectations on yourself, especially when they're not healthy. The next lesson I learned is that your gut is always right. I am probably the most indecisive person on this planet. That makes things like friendships and joining clubs and like doing stuff very hard for me. What I've realized is that deep down I always know what I want, but I let other people convince me otherwise. Like, if I'm on the fence about a certain person, they will do something to like prove that my gut feeling was right and that they're not a good person or they are a good person. For example, with an ex-boyfriend I had a long time ago, I wanted to break up with him and I knew in my gut I wanted to break up with him and that he wasn't treating me right and that he was being annoying, and I didn't because I was like, oh, what if I break up with him and I regret it and whatever, which is exactly what my mind does in every situation. It talks myself out of everything. So I didn't break up with him and then he broke up with me. And at the time, of course, I was sad, but I was like so relieved because I was like, I knew it. Like, the second he broke up with me, I immediately felt this like release. And whenever someone tries to convince me otherwise, I always end up being right. Like, sometimes they do convince me and sometimes I do change my mind and then I go through it and then I'm like, what was I thinking? Like, I was right. So trust your gut. You know what you want and you shouldn't settle for less. The next lesson I learned is not everything is your fault. I've had a lot of things happen to me that I just go through every situation and I'm like trying to pinpoint the exact moment where I screwed up or like something can be blamed on me and I just always come up short. For example, with my bully, I would like go through every moment that we had together and try to figure out why this girl hated me so much and what did I do to her, and maybe I did something and she took it the wrong way and I could never figure out anything. And even when I'd ask her like, what did I do, please tell me, she'd be like, nothing. Like, I don't know, nothing. Like, she didn't even know. And that's kind of the first instance where I was like, okay, this isn't my fault. I didn't warrant my bullying from 1st to 5th grade, and I especially did not deserve my bullying in high school. They had their reasons, they had their motives, but nothing ever was because of anything I did. All I ever tried to do was be a good friend and be nice and like support them, and it just didn't work out. Like, sometimes that's just not enough for people. Even when I was cheated on, I was like blaming my looks, like comparing us, like, oh yeah, he probably just wanted a skinnier girl, like that's why. But then I'd take a step back and I'd be like, I gave that boy everything and more, everything. Like, put him first in every aspect of my life ever. Like, I did not do anything. Sometimes people do things to you and it's not your fault. The next lesson I learned is never depend on anyone. I've learned this from what I've seen and already kind of experienced. I never want to be put in the position where my livelihood is like leveraged or threatened. I never want to have to worry like, oh, if I break up with this person, like, where am I gonna live, or how am I gonna sustain myself, or if I move out of my parents' house, like how am I gonna support myself? I still depend heavily on my parents, which I'm thankful for, but I can't imagine like living with them after college and like having them pay for stuff or asking them for money, or marrying someone and then having them be the only one who works and I'm like at home with the kids and I can't support myself if anything goes wrong in the marriage. At the end of the day, the only person I really trust is myself. So I'm gonna take care of myself. The next lesson I learned is to distinguish between reality and fantasy. As a writer, my creative mind is always making new situations and scenarios in my head. I would imagine the next time I see my ex and what it would be like, or if I saw my bully again, like what would happen. And I would do this as a way to prepare if it ever did happen in real life, but I would do it so much that I would actually start to believe, like, if this happened, this is how it would happen, this is what I would say. And then I would be so disappointed if it didn't happen, or if it happened in a different way, when like it was all in my head. For example, my ex never bought me flowers, and I would mention it to him like, all I want are flowers, like if it's an anniversary, if it's a birthday, like I just want flowers. So after that conversation, I'd imagine him like buying me flowers the next time he sees me, just to like show me he cares, or like when it was my birthday he'd buy me flowers. And then in real life he'd come over, he'd be empty-handed. On my birthday he didn't get me anything. Like I'd be so disappointed. Not to say it's not good to expect like little presents or flowers, like it's fine, but my life isn't a movie, you know? The things in my head don't always come true, and I need to stop romanticizing everything. Next lesson is simple, just to be nice to everyone. It's not that hard. You never know what people are going through, and your nice comment can make someone's entire day. Northeastern students are actually very nice. I remember one day I was so cranky because I think I woke up late and I had a bad morning and I couldn't get ready fast enough, and I just had to like bolt out the door, and I was crossing the street and this girl like stopped me and she told me how much she loved my hair, and then instantly, like in a second, my mood changed and I was like, oh, my hair, yeah, it's pretty cute. When I thought before like, oh, it's so gross, I have to leave the house looking like this because I didn't have enough time. And it flipped my whole mood around for the rest of the day. So I would highly recommend just being a nice person. The next lesson I learned is you don't have to be in a relationship to be happy. I kind of had a streak in high school where I would just talk to boys one after the other. Not on purpose, but it would just happen that way. Like when one boy left, I'd just meet another one. But being with someone is literally more stressful than being single, in my opinion. Like I get the feeling of being lonely and you want someone to cuddle with and you want someone to talk about everything with, but that can also be fixed with friends. I've also been really happy with a boyfriend and it's great, but I started relying on him for happiness. So when we broke up, I just didn't know how to be happy by myself. But my second semester of college was spent happy and single, and it was a fun time. And then if you get into a relationship again, it just like multiplies the happiness you already had. The next lesson I learned is never let anyone define your worth. In my first semester of college, I remember trying out for all these clubs and all these groups and like just getting rejected one after the other because it was so competitive, and it made me hate myself. I thought I sucked at everything, that my personality must be awful because I wasn't getting into all of these things. But in reality, I realized that if there's someone better than you, that doesn't make you bad. When you take a step back, you realize that these people don't know you. Like they talk to you for 10 minutes, they hear 1 minute of a song that you're singing, like they don't know anything about you. It's not my fault you couldn't get to know me in 10 minutes, you know? The next one I have is it's okay to be selfish sometimes. For a long time I put my friends and my boyfriend in front of my personal needs and like any aspect of my life. I looked at schools on the East Coast because my boyfriend was going to the East Coast, and I didn't study abroad summer because I wanted to see my friends in the summer. That's so stupid. Like I quickly realized that none of these people would do that for me, and that's fine. Like you shouldn't do that for people. For example, with the studying abroad, I was worried how that would affect my relationship, like if I went away for a couple months in the summer. Then one day my boyfriend casually mentions that he's going to study abroad in Korea for a whole semester, and it's like we never talked about it, and like he never asked me, which he does not have to at all. But I'm just saying, like, no one thinks of me as much as I think of them. So I learned not to base my life decisions on other people. So I'm going to study in LA next semester, and no one's gonna stop me. The next one I have is remember why you started doing it. And this applies to anything, but for me especially, it kind of surrounds YouTube. I remember I wanted to start YouTube in middle school, but I just didn't know what I would post. And then after I was getting bullied in high school, I realized that I have these stories that I can tell people. And then I remember getting into college and setting up this yellow lamp right in front of me that was not meant to be a light. And then I set up the little tripod I have with my camera, and the tripod wasn't tall enough, so I'd have to bend down to get into frame, and I would just talk. And I had maybe 20 subscribers, but it wasn't really for them. It was me documenting my life for me, because I never thought I'd get any subscribers. I just thought one day my kids can look back at this and like watch all these videos of me actually being 19 and actually being 20 and see what I was going through and see what I went through in high school. And when I started getting a following, I started getting brand deals, and I started getting requests to do clothes videos and makeup videos. And I was like, well, that's not really me documenting my life. Like, if my kids are looking at me, why would they care about a makeup tutorial, you know? So that motivation kind of changed from like me documenting my life to me wanting to make content. And I kept growing, and I felt the pressure of everyone watching me and expecting me to keep growing. My family would constantly ask how many subscribers I'm at today, and if it didn't change, they'd be like, still? Like, you're still there? It was so stressful. I became so self-conscious of numbers. Like, I would think if I lost a subscriber, everyone would know and everyone would see, and everyone would be like, oh, she's losing subscribers now. Or if my video didn't get this many views, like, everyone would be like, no one's watching her anymore. But then I had to step back and realize that if I still had 20 subscribers, I would still be posting every week, and I would still be posting the same content every week. And having this many subscribers doesn't really change that. The next lesson I learned is to fight for what you want. In high school, I worked really hard for what I wanted, but it was so much easier because it was a small school. There was only a number of kids competing for what I wanted, so I got solos, and I got lead roles, and I got leadership roles. But in college, it's so different because there's so many more people who want what you want. I thought I'd walk in and just make all the friends and like join all the clubs, but that's not how it works in college. Like, you have to work extra hard. I remember one night my roommate and I just went around our floor knocking on all the doors, inviting people to go out with us so we can make friends, and I'm still friends with one of those girls to this day. So it worked. And then I remember getting rejected from the singing group last year, and then immediately enrolling in singing lessons and then getting better. So this year I have a solo and I have dance parts that I'm in, and I like never dance. So I definitely learned that it's not easy, but it is possible if you work really hard. The next lesson I learned is don't let stress control your life. Stress controls every aspect of my life. It's the reason I wait last minute to do things. It's the reason I gain weight and lose weight, and it's the reason I cancel last minute. I wait until the last minute to do something because just the thought of doing it stresses me out, but then having everything due at the last second stresses me out even more. It's just a never-ending cycle. But last week I finished my work early, and it was like the most unstressful thing ever. Today I definitely procrastinated a lot, but it's getting better. When I'm stressed, I also binge eat, which is something I've struggled with since I was a kid. I think it started with I would always get food, and then I'd say when I'm done eating I'll start my work. So then I just never stopped eating because I didn't want to do my work. And it still applies to this day. Like, I'll get dinner and then I'll be like, oh, after dinner I'll start my work, and then after dinner I'll grab a snack. Even though I'm full, I just keep eating, and I'd keep eating and grab snack after snack until I literally felt sick. Still would eat just so I wouldn't have to start my work. So last weekend my roommate invited me to go out with her friends that I didn't know that well, and I said yes, but I almost canceled last minute until she convinced me not to, and I went out and I had a really fun time. So I'm glad she didn't let me cancel. So I'm working on that too. The last thing I learned is everything happens for a reason. I just remember everything happening with my friendships and relationships and thinking like, why is this happening to me? Like, all I do is try to be a good person and like the best friend. Like, why are these people doing this to me? And then I think of how content I am with life now, and how I love every one of my friends that I have, and if that never happened, I never would have cut off the other people. I also think with the relationships, like, I finally am getting what I deserve, and I don't tolerate not getting what I deserve out of relationships and friendships anymore. School is 100 times better because I finally know what I'm doing, because last year was like a trial run for me, and then this year, like, I know what to do now. And I'm actually excited for the future. Like, I just feel I have a feeling that everything's gonna work out, and I have a feeling that I'm gonna be very happy. I'm obviously still learning, I'm only 20, but these were just a couple facts that I wanted to share with you. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment saying a lesson you've learned in life so far. The Instagram shout out for today is katyaawar fan page. Thank you for liking all my pictures and commenting nice stuff. If you want to be the next Instagram shout out, please like all my pictures, follow me on Instagram, and leave a nice comment and I'll shout you out. I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Tell me what you like, but it's never gonna change.